We are recording.
We are recording. Let's take a roll call. Kelly Strickland, that's me. I'm here. Alex, 'tis not. Alderman Lynn Gerlach.
I'm here.
Kent Hutchison.
Here.
Beth Lemke.
Present.
Paul Grawl from Civic Symphony. Should be noted that Paul has stepped off as he has stepped away from Civic Symphony, so we'll need a new liaison. Matt Vandenboomen.
Here.
Fantastic. Next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
We don't have to vote on that one, do we?
Yes.
All in favor of approving the agenda?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
Go ahead.
I'm only a year in, Cheryl. I'll get it at some point.
I'm helping you, Kelly. Like you do this
Any
every day.
opposed?
No.
Grand. Moving on. Approval of the minutes.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Fantastico. Regular business. Consideration with possible action I'm looking at the last agenda, everyone.
This would be consideration with possible action to approve the GBPAC budget for fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2021.
Here we go. Regular business. Consideration with possible action on approval of GBPAC budget for fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2021. Laura, do you want to present the budget?
I will co-present it with our amazing account. Does everyone have access to that? It's in the packet, or do you want me to show my screen?
I'm looking at it.
I am too.
Okay. I will look at it as well. So it's a proposed budget. At that top portion for all of our accounts that we have, as well as the beginning balances of the year. As noted, the community development block grant amount, that's an estimated amount from last year's allocations we received and the expenses we used. We don't have final confirmation on how much we're going to get. This is an estimate. But then those remaining accounts, the donations, the Friends account for the Community Foundation, and then the Friends Bank account, those are accurate numbers. This document. Does anyone have any questions on the initial portion? I'm going to take that. Moving down the document, we have kind of those buckets segmented out as far as what we're anticipating is going to be pulled from. So looking at the community development block grant funding budget, we have my position salary coming out of there, as well as we have a final payment for our Dan's Park art benches that's going to be coming out yet. And then our final payment for that alley art installation. So that leaves us a remainder of about $19,000 unallocated. But as I said, our block grant budget is the one that it's estimated. So these are rough numbers for that account. Our rotating art budget, we still have $4,100 remaining in that. Going on to our second item, later we'll talk about the rotating art program. So I haven't allocated any artist payments in that segment just yet, but we do have an insurance bill that will be coming later this month, I believe, if not next month, since it's pretty much the end of the month. Then moving down, we have our donations budget, which is that large donation from WPS for the Embark sculpture. Last year, we made a small payment for some routine maintenance on that piece, so that $19,800 is remaining in there for future maintenance needs of Embark. Our Friends account at the Community Foundation, we have dollars in that account. We are going to be getting administrative fees pulled out each month, but so far we haven't gotten the bill yet for January yet. And then in our bank account, we have $2,000. Is there anything I should mention that I might have forgot?
Nope, everything looks good.
Or does anyone have questions on the proposed budget or would like clarification on anything?
So basically, we're looking at a surplus of $19,000 in CD, and we still have some money for rotating arts. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, that's good. Do we have a plan for that $19,000, or we're going to talk about that soon?
Not yet, because we just don't know how much we're going to be getting.
Right. Oh. Okay.
Hopefully we'll find out sometime in February, I'm hoping, how much we're actually going to be allocated, so then we can hit the ground running and really start planning, because as we know, those funds have that timeline of November to be
Right.
spent.
And does it behoove us to allocate those dollars to something? So CDBG can, like the people on that board can recognize that that's not just money sitting in anywhere. That would that influence their giving for us in the future?
I don't think at this time it makes sense to allocate it, because we still have to run it through RD. So I would say I would wait at this time.
Okay.
So Krista, Krista Cisneros is here. She's our block grant coordinator for the program. These monies right now, we're at the point where we're putting them into a plan for the allocation amount, correct?
Correct, yes.
And there's going to be, I think, some public hearings on this coming up.
Yes, there is a
on the
public
allocation
hearing.
of these. Go ahead.
Yeah, there is a public hearing being held at 4:00. It's over a Zoom meeting because we can't meet in person. It's on February 4th at 4:00. And I can get Laura the information on that so she can send it out to you all.
That would be fantastic. Thank you.
So we're receiving public comments on block grant funds and what the needs for block grants are kind of in the community. So you certainly are all welcome to attend that and, put your 2 cents in on where you think block grant funds should be allocated, right? I think once the budget is set, then the PAC then would want to comment on suggestions on ways to maybe allocate these dollars, recommendations to staff on actually how to spend them then. Is that correct? Am I thinking that's the process we want to go? Okay.
Yes.
So you're just a little early right now.
And just
block
to
grant.
note that the 2021 dollars that are coming in, we're always 1 year behind with block grant. Our program year starts in February. However, with all of the bureaucracy that goes on, if we don't actually get our funds until September, October. So these 2021 funds would not need to be spent till November 2022. So we do have that 1 year. It wouldn't be this November.
So we won't necessarily be penalized for having that $19,000 in our budget while we're currently being evaluated for more CDBG dollars.
Doesn't sound to me like we're being evaluated. It doesn't sound to me like the Public Art Commission is being evaluated. It sounds like the public is being surveyed to find out what their priorities are.
Yeah, I understand that, but like usually, well, my understanding of budgets is if you're going into a new year with a surplus, that can be kind of held against you, like, oh, you don't need that much dollars because you have a surplus going into a new year. So I just want to make sure that dynamic is not taking place in this case.
Only if you had a surplus for the 2020 funding, that would need to be spent by November
Right.
2021.
Okay. I understand. That makes
I
sense.
think the budget that Laura is showing you, I can't see the budget, I'm sorry, but I think the budget that Laura is showing you is for 2021 dollars.
Is that true, Laura? I think that's what it shows too. Yeah.
Christy, you cut out for a second. You said 2021, correct?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. City Hall's a little dodgy. Yeah, that's correct.
So so the 19,152 that you list as unallocated, Laura, that's 20 money, isn't it?
Yes.
That's not 20. So when you look at you've got the budget of, it's
Why-
confusing how you have that. So, because you have 88,176, was that, when we're looking at this budget, are you projecting, is this the new money you think's coming in, or is this the money from 20?
That is the new money coming in. So this
That's
is our
the new
projected
money.
it for 2021.
Okay.
It's new and.
That she's using that number as an estimate based on what's been received in the past.
Okay.
Yeah, so once we get our actual numbers in and we know where we're standing, we'll be following up with the updated budget to let you guys know. This is just to
Okay.
kick, essentially.
Yeah, your current budget actually has the 2020 money and the 2021 money in it, so it's all mixed together. So,
So is that $19,000, is that a hard number for how much we need to spend by November?
no, because we don't know what the allocation from 2021, which is part of that number, is.
Okay. Do we have an idea of how much we're going into left for until November?
I am not at my desk, so I cannot look that up for you, unfortunately, right now. 'Cause
Okay.
it would have been part of, it would have been what we had left over at the end of last year, which I think there was some, but I don't know how much it was.
Okay. But we can figure that out and maybe talk about it in February.
Yep.
Okay.
Laura, what's
then-
the possible action that you're asking of us here?
To approve the proposed budget.
And the budget can be changed at any time. It's just so that we have like a framework of where we're starting from.
Okay, are there any further questions or comments?
I'm just assuming, Laura, that the rotating arts fund that you have on here is just accommodating the rotating arts plan that we're about to approve.
Is remaining grant money that we received specifically for the rotating art program. So I apologize. I forgot to put restricted next to that as well, because that money is only for the rotating art program.
Right, but do we need more in there if we're going to do a whole year of this new rotating arts plan, or is
Do
that
need more, but that's going to be. I still have to talk it through with Stephanie and Chris. Just funding the remaining amount, because that'll cover that 4,000 in there. That will cover what we need for this year. We make that artist payment at the beginning of the instrument this year, and then there would be another one in 2022. So that amount would cover what we have, but to cover the full amount, I need to with Chris and Stephanie as far as where we want to pull that remaining funds, whether it's from the Friends account or whether we can apply block grant dollars to that, because several locations in that program are in eligible areas, but it might get a little messy funding half of them through this bucket of money and then funding the remainder from a different bucket. So
Okay.
if there, I guess, I don't know specifically where it's going to be coming out of just yet, but I don't have a concern for finding that remaining money, if that's the question.
Sure. Yeah. Yep. That's all. As long as we have our eye on that, I think it's fine.
Any remaining questions or comments? And if not, may I get
To approve the budget as is.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Grand. Next item on the agenda, consideration with possible action to revive and update the rotating art program. Lori, you want to talk about your proposal?
Absolutely. So what did I say? Back in 2019, we were discussing our rotating art program and annual grant program. At that time, we raised our artist stipend, which was just so we have a competitive program. And we had briefly discussed about updating the project so that all 6 pedestals operate on a same schedule. Because right now, each spot operates independently. So at Light Park, we can have something going in today, and then that'll be on loan for a year and then get taken out. And then a month from now, we can get another piece, Bay Beach. So from a planning and marketing standpoint, it's a bit of a nightmare to get a collective effort behind all 6 of these and have that cohesive message, just kind of that big press release of, hey, we have 6 new pieces coming out. Go check them out. They're at these spots. It's kind of dribs and drabs here and there. So essentially what I'm proposing is to update the project so that all 6 pedestals are operating on the same schedule. We release one call during the winter here in January, February, have that call out for a month, and then select those 6 pieces in early spring so that they can get those installed late spring, early summer.
Laura, I sort of recognize from the outside that seems like it would increase efficiency, certainly of the call. Is that going to create, I know you actually do a lot of kind of like hands-on work on this program when these change outs take place. Is it going to cause you any new challenges if they are in fact all coming at the same time? Or do you feel like it will also make your use of time more efficient, not just the call process?
I think it's going to make my time more efficient. And I guess I should clarify on the installation plan. I think I have it included in there, but I believe I have a window of about 3 weeks. I think in the month of May, I had it listed. That I could coordinate with artists during the month of May to install those pieces. So I'm still doing the same work. It's just a little bit shorter of a timeline, I guess, as far as coordinating those installations. But in the long run, I think it's going to be more efficient time-wise.
In addition to the process itself, are we considering changing anything about kind of the artistic quality? And by quality, I don't mean good or bad, but rather, is there any thought to kind of like shaping what the call is about? For instance, community themes or, I don't know, ways to bring a little bit more cohesion?
I didn't have any thoughts on that at this time. There are some programs that do have themes to them. From my experience, I feel like themes are good, but they're limiting. Just by placing that theme, it's limiting. So I think I would be in favor of not putting a theme on it, just because it's going to encourage more diversity in the types of sculpture we receive. But if there's a reason that you think we should be placing a theme, I'm more than willing to hear it out.
Nope, just asking the question. And I think also trying to think of ways to create more awareness of the program. I mean, I think just by doing more concentrated installations, you can bring more media attention to it because it's sort of a broader scale of activity. But I trust your instinct on the topic.
Yeah, I concur with you, Laura, also. I think generally the theme might just be public art, like having access and representing public artwork. So I have a few questions regarding some of the content. I can't remember how we finished up our last conversation when we talked about this last time regarding this question on the document where it has the big squares. Do you have the necessary insurance? Please circle one. Are we going to turn people away that don't have insurance?
That is part of the city's requirement, is that artists have insurance. I have to check with legal on it, but I think if there is a case where someone doesn't have insurance, we might be able to have them sign like a extra heavy duty liability release in that case. But like I said, I'd have to check with legal just to double check. But
yeah, that again is a huge barrier, and like as far as like people having accessibility to this project. And then also it doesn't go on to explain what necessary insurance is on any of these documents. So my instinct and my suggestion would be that we strike that and we just find a way to get the artists to be able to enter into a hold harmless, like very easily, or something that releases liability. Because I don't know if we're requiring liability insurance, if we're requiring business insurance, are we requiring, it just gets into a really, anytime insurance is on these like low hanging fruit programs, like the rotating arts program is supposed to be, just gets muddled up, and that prevents people from applying.
Yeah, I feel like we've talked about this. I mean, what do we have for our pieces now?
we have, it's like a maritime liability insurance, but that covers the city. And that covers the piece itself. That doesn't cover when the artist is installing the piece, they drop something on their foot or anything like that. So I think I can check again with risk management and just get more clarification on what insurance I guess we're asking for. But it is my understanding that the city has insurance on those pieces, but we are still requesting that Arkwith are insured as well.
So that might be just some type of a hold harmless agreement if the artist injures themselves on city property type of a situation.
Yeah.
I think maybe. Which is like, hey, if I drop my drill on my foot, I'm not going to sue the city or something to that effect, right?
Right. If we require the artist to have insurance for this liability insurance, I mean, basic liability plans start. So I mean, it's just it wouldn't make sense at all. So I guess figuring out how to just include a hold harmless signature on here or something. to make it just really straightforward and rapid.
I can check in on that and see if we're able to remove it by just subbing in. That can definitely do that. If the city's not okay with just a hold harmless agreement, are we still all right with? I mean, I guess that's kind of a moot point. If the city requires it, we require it, which I agree, unfortunately, is a barrier to many, but I can't argue with risk management sometimes.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to
You
find
can
a
work with
creative
risk
way.
management. I mean, they have a goal, right? And I think to Cheryl's point, so long as we can meet their goal, which is that the city is protected. I mean, my experience with state risk management, and I'm sure Beth has the same with county, is that they just want the institution or the entity protected. And so if an artist is willing to sign, as Kent described it, heavy duty, hold harmless, I have no doubt that they would be fine with that, because otherwise Kent's point is really important here. I mean, we're essentially saying that we are only supporting established kind of for-profit entities, and that's really not the point of this program. And if we can't at some point support our actual freelance artists who live and make work in our region, what are we doing? Right? So I would say,
Yeah, let me, if I may, just weigh in a little bit. This is Celestine.
hi, Celestine.
Hello. So yeah, Laura, if I'm understanding some of the concerns of the commission. So yeah, sorry, for the record, Celestine Jeffries, now clerk, not chief of staff anymore. Laura and I went round and around on this issue to try to really open things up for people who are not established. And there was just no way that we could manage a different process other than, if I'm understanding what everyone's concerns are, other than a hold harmless agreement.
That is what we're asking for.
I think really, sorry. So reiterate what you're asking for.
A hold harmless instead of an insurance requirement.
Oh, yeah. We went around and around on the insurance requirement as well. And there was just no way that we could manage that the city could take on the insurance issue.
But the hold harmless would take the place of insurance.
Unfortunately, if I recall from our conversations with the law department, it does not. So we can go, Laura can go round 15 on it, but no, unfortunately, it does not.
I would say I can look into it again, but I think the issue was because it's out in the public. It's out on the street. It's a greater risk than what we're able to cover. Right. I think it presents an opportunity for us to look at some interior spaces. Perhaps that would be a lower threshold for us to that harmless could cover that.
You talked about that Maritime Insurance. What was that? What is that? So, what is that?
That's basically what our policy is. Maritime Insurance is, it's initially used for items that are shipped across the sea. So it has no stable location. It is evolving and moving, which I argue with a little bit since we have cement pedestals placed in the ground that are quite permanent, but that is where they've placed our policy.
So the city pays that Maritime Insurance policy for art pieces right now? Was that a yes?
Yeah.
You're a little choppy.
So
the city,
the public
PAC. And but that insurance does not cover the liability on the pieces?
It covers.
Because really the issue is an artist puts up a piece, and somebody from the public gets injured on it, right? They're going to sue the deep pocket, which is the city. And so we're trying to defray that liability from the city. So does that maritime insurance that the PAC buys, does that do that right now? Or
Yes.
You're saying it doesn't? That's why there's insurance issues?
No, it does cover that.
We're looking at the installation and deaccession of the actual artwork, like the liability of the installation and the deaccession. Yeah, that's the only liability that I think anyone's on the hook for at this point. But from my understanding, signing hold harm, that's just a loophole. But if that's not a loophole that we can accommodate, I think we should reevaluate this program. Because to Kelly's point, I'm not interested in funding people like me who do this for profit all the time. This is for fun. It's $1,500. They're not making a lot of money.
Right.
We need to find a way to make this accessible to like non-established artists.
I can definitely meet again with risk management and see if things have changed. If they're all right with just a heavy duty hold harmless agreement, but I'm not very hopeful about that.
Yeah,
Also-
because even for special events, we make special events take out insurance.
So
For
another
potentially a
question
one-day
to
event.
them would be like, how, in your view, lawyer people, how can we get artists to show their work in Green Bay without requiring them some type of liability? And if that's like just holding things inside,
Probably
that
go
housing,
to a
then maybe that's something we need to consider. But I think it's our flexibility as, you know, a group to find ways to do this. That's kind of what we're all about.
It also, from an economic development perspective, it makes us very out of step with any municipal effort behind this kind of work. There are municipalities much larger with much deeper pockets than ours who have processes to allow access for freelance artists to do this kind of work. So there has to be a solution available, and I think it's worth continuing to pursue and getting creative about, rather than just feeling like we're going to go another round with legal and come out a little bit beat up. There has to be a way to do this.
Might I offer a solution? And this might be totally inappropriate because, as you know, I don't know too much about these things, but I will say that when I read over this material, I had the exact only question I had, because I think this material is very, very good. Is it possible to seek a sponsor? Like it would corporate sponsor, it would be corporate money, someone who pays money to sponsor the rotating arts program, and their money is used strictly to insure. Is that okay? Is that compatible with what this group does?
I think so. I think that could be like
Absolutely.
it would be a strange policy that would basically, I don't know what it would even say, but like for business insurance, you have to acquire liability as a person or as an entity. So if they wanted to acquire liability insurance to cover the installation and deaccession, I'm sure there's a way to do that. Yeah. Insurance companies are very innovative that way to get money.
Well, I mean, I wasn't thinking of insurance companies. I was thinking of a local corporation that would attach to this program, and all they know is dollars. And if they want to know how we're spending it to insure these artists who are not for-profit people who need some help with insurance. And that just becomes, we just pick up the tab. And they get their name associated with the program. But I don't know if that's how city things work.
Let me say that give us some time to dig up the old stuff. I'm willing to take another kick at the cat, and wherever we go with that, to see how we can get this done. I totally understand the issue, right? I mean, I just think, what if a group of Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts want to do a piece that they all put together as a group, and how cool would that be? Well, they're not going to, right? That group's not going to get insurance. So there's got to be a way to either purchase it separately or go with a business sponsor, or maybe the city rents it. So it's ours temporarily. I don't know. Let us take another kick at the cat on that. I'm willing to look at that again and see if we can get something resolved, because that's the whole point of rotating arts, right? Is we want local folks doing cool things.
Yeah.
On these pads. So
awesome. This is a great document though, Laura.
So maybe you want to approve that contingent on, figuring out the insurance issues or the hold harmless issues with the artist.
And you said you had a couple of questions. That was the first. Is there a second?
Well, I think that we covered the questions that I had regarding the insurance. The other thing would be, I liked the flexibility of having the RAP program go on kind of ongoing, but I'm hearing Laura say it's just kind of a nightmare. And so I'd be for also shifting it over so that ultimately more work gets put up if that's in line with her calendar, and making everything kind of annually one time.
Other questions or comments on the reviving and updating the rotating art program?
I would just like to piggyback on what Kent said. I think that when you do it annually and you do it all at one time, if you do get a corporate sponsor, and as you might, that's kind of my background, getting corporate sponsors for nonprofits. I think that then you could have an opening, you could have an event, you could have a moment that would make it more appealing to a corporate sponsor.
Yeah, that's great, Lynn. And that kind of goes back to where we began this public awareness and attention on the program.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So I'll make a motion to approve this document, assuming that we navigate that insurance and potential hold harmless jargon, however it fits, as long as we identify that. So does that make sense?
Second?
I would second it, but I have a little bit of a concern about approving something that has such a big need for. I just wonder, once you get this figured out, are you going to come back? Is it going to be reviewed again by this group?
We can. I mean, February is a pretty short month. And our timeline, the timeline that I had set out, it's to install in May. Now, May is just kind of the beginning of our decent weather. So, I mean, we could push it back and then just have everything in line move back and then have that installation actually occur in June.
And I'm not asking for.
I'm okay with that option, because I agree, Lynn. I think this is a pretty big item, or not big, but it is pivotal and it's an important point. So I think it would be in our interest to sort that out before moving forward. Because it's gonna take us time to figure out the insurance portion, and yet we could release the call yet this month. So it's gonna take us some time to get that sorted out. We might as well get our ducks sorted out and approve the real time.
Approve it. What we want to do is refer it back to staff.
I rescind my motion.
Thank God.
You gotta write that one down anyway.
Okay. we look forward to whatever's going to happen to that cat. I've never heard that expression, Cheryl.
No?
Did you say stomp on the cat?
Yeah, it's like amazing and slightly disturbing, which I love.
Cats
That's
on the
basically
road?
what
Never-
good art's all about.
I got a lot of those. I'm like an old Green Bay gal, right? I got a lot of those little saying things. So.
Okay, so we're going to Laura's going to continue to work on that with Cheryl.
We have to make that motion to.
Yes.
Oh, so can we? So may I have a motion for that?
You need a motion to refer to staff.
Go ahead, Lynn.
Anyone?
Okay, I move that we refer this item back to staff.
I second.
Thank you. Second from Kent. Great. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Moving along, on to our informational section of the agenda. First item, community development block grant funds and the arts. Do we have a guest on this topic?
We do have a guest because I'm not qualified to talk about this. But as a reminder, during our last meeting, we had discussed, I think my laptop's going to die soon, so I got to charge it. I have to do some moving around. Anyway, during our November meeting, we had discussed community development block grant dollars and the arts in other communities, and I presented a few examples, and it was requested that guidelines be provided. So kudos to any of you who read through the entire thing. I did read through that attached guidelines from HUD for entitlement communities block grant dollars, and I highlighted a few of the eligible that I think we are going to be encountering most often when it comes to these dollars and the arts. That's not to say that in some specific circumstance we could use that money for demolition of a property for a new art center or something along those lines. But I at least went through those guidelines and highlighted the activities that I think we are going to be encountering most often. So yeah, I will let Krista take it away if she has any comments or anyone else, and I'm gonna grab my charger.
Okay, so yeah, I did read through what Laura did send out. It looks very good. Good job, Laura. In regards to the types of activities that block grant can be used for and the national objectives that those activities could meet. The only one section that that she has included is the planning and capacity building, where you could use the money for planning comprehensive plans or individual plans. That type of fund, it is an eligible activity under block grant. However, it would fall underneath our admin section of our block grant funds, and our admin section is capped. So those would not be eligible for your spending when you have your $25,000 or $50,000 allocated with block grant funding. I'm not sure, Laura, do you want me to go through each one of these? I mean, I'm not sure, or do individuals have questions in regards to the activities?
I was gonna say, I think if people have questions on it, but otherwise I think, like you had mentioned, thank you for mentioning that admin cap. I think that's important to point out, as well as our community or public service cap. That it's my understanding that that's where my salary is paid out of, is our public service amount, and we are capped on that. So that kind of is going to get in that issue eventually of not having enough dollars within that cap to use for other public service activities, such as art class programming or other things like that, at least at this time, I think. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, well, and it all really depends. I mean, if you guys are talking, these are eligible activities, so you could talk about them. And if you did have a budget and it fell within that cap, we're not quite at that 15% cap for public service, but we're close. So it really all depends on how much money you're talking about for a public service activity as opposed to a permanent structure that would be considered public facilities and improvement. So it just really depends on what you're talking about and where it would fall underneath those budgets. Go ahead, Cheryl.
Can I weigh in here?
Sure.
I feel like if I was sitting on the PAC as a member, I would be like, okay, what can I use block grant for? Can I use it for this? Can I use it for this? We'd love to have your commentary on all of block grant, whether it's streets, sidewalks, housing, homelessness, all of the things that benefit LMI. But I think your focus is probably like, what can we do and what can't we do with block grant? Like, how would that work? And I don't know, Krista, I don't know, I'm putting you on the spot and maybe you don't have this, but like kind of generalized, what things can you use block grant money for with regards to the arts? Like, we know we're capped at staff. Bottom line is that we're already paying for a staff person. So if the PAC says we'd like to hire another staff, that's not going to come out of block grant anyway. But you may have other questions about forms of art or things that could be funded and whether or not it would apply to block grant.
Yeah.
Am I on track with that?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
So some types of activities that you can spend with block grant would be a nice sculpture piece in a low to moderate income neighborhood park, or on a visible corner, or in a low to moderate income neighborhood, something that would beautify that neighborhood and it would be accessible to everybody in that neighborhood. Or lighting, some sort of lighting or some sort of decorative street signage, or you could do programs that are eligible to low to moderate income individuals for arts, like child programs, public service activities like that. Those are all eligible activities. As far as buying a property and converting it into a facility, I mean, yes, that is an eligible activity under block grant. Would it be enough funding for you that is set aside for that? I don't think we would have that funding available for this group underneath our block grant funding, but yes, that is an eligible activity. And then I'm just trying to.
I think that meeting on the 4th is really going to be helpful for you guys to sit in on. Kind of touching back on what Chris said, like building a facility specifically for arts. That's buco bucks that we just don't have. But I think of what projects we do have going on. I mean, we do have a community center that it was Zozo's, we're calling it the community center. But talking about planning arts programming for that community center, something along those lines. So I definitely think once we get that meeting information, I think it would definitely be in all of our interests to attend that.
Can I give a hypothetical and Krista, get your feedback? So say there was a not-for-profit group in an eligible area who want to start a arts program with their youth, and they also wanted to kick it off with like some type of mural project to establish that entity is now moving forward with an arts program. And they're going to pay an artist within that community to teach the kids. And they want to kick it off with this event stuff. Would the educational component be covered? Would the teaching, paying the teacher be covered within that part? Or would those need to be itemized or separate? And then the mural component, would that be separate as well, or could we all wrap that up into one like initiative? And then I'll let you answer that question first.
Sure. Yeah, you could wrap it all up into one project, one
Okay.
activity, and all those expenditures are eligible. Definitely operating a program, whether it be salaries, utilities, supplies, anything like that, those are allowable block grant expenditures underneath that program. As long as that program met that national objective of 51% of the participants in that program were low to moderate income individuals.
Definitely. Okay. And then how would an entity go about applying for these dollars? Would they do it through the PAC, or would they do it directly to the block grant entity, or how would that work?
Well, the way we have it set up currently is that it would run through you, the PAC.
Okay.
Unless we broke off and had a different budget for something, and then we could RFP it out, and then that individual could come in and directly apply for it through the city. However, I think we have set this up where the block grant art and beautification funds run through you. So I would think that it would run through you, your committee.
You provide the doorway for these projects to come into, have access to the grant dollars. So
Right. However, you have to set these programs up with the amount of funding that you have available under block grant.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, they're not just open
Ask for
dollars.
honor. Okay.
Would run through you, through your budget of the block grant that Laura had set up, that budget.
Krista, can block grant dollars be used in combination with private or corporate monies for large scale projects?
Yes, they can. If you're talking about any type of construction work, though, if it's a larger scale, it does kick in some Davis-Bacon and federal requirements. Painting like that, it also does. Just kind of other federal requirements just to keep in mind that might kick some costs up a little bit because you have to pay a prevailing wage rate on it. But yes, definitely you can mix block grant with other funding sources.
Thank you.
Can I ask a couple really basic questions, please?
Sure.
Does the city of Green Bay get a huge grant from HUD and then somehow it's divvied up, and so this is the portion of it that goes to public arts? Is that how it works?
Yes. The city of Green Bay is an entitlement community, so every year we receive community development block grant funds, usually around $1 million, a little less. And then we also receive home dollars, home investment partnership dollars, which is about $500,000. So this meeting that I'm having on February 4th is the start of our process plan, which I get input from the community on where everyone would like to see these dollars spent on eligible activities in the city. And then that plan goes to the redevelopment authority for approval and recommendation to the city council. And then the city council approves the plan, and then we move forward with it each year.
Okay, and so how has this money been spent for public art in the past?
We have done poetry stamps in the parks. We have done the alley art. We have done murals. I think we've done bus shelters, the art on the bus shelters. Laura, are there others?
I think we did the indicator, right, in Old North?
Yeah, we did the indicator.
So-
Oh yeah, that was a while back. Yep.
So that was before me, but
All the things we've been dealing with for the last few months, a lot of that has been funded through this funding. Okay, that's all I needed to know. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Lynn, short of any private half of the Friends, this is really the only money coming into GBPAC on a regular basis. So I think that's important to note. Is everyone's about block grant satisfied?
Yeah, thank you, Krista. Definitely going to attend a meeting on February 4th.
Yeah, that's my big takeaway, is that the February 4th listening session or public hearing, whatever, is a good learning opportunity for us. And next item on the agenda, Chairperson's report and project updates. I do not have any updates. Project updates. Laura, do you have anything to contribute on this?
For my report, in the attachments, you guys should have access to that. I just wanted to give an update on our kind of those outstanding block grant projects that we had from last year. The photos that are attached there, I believe Dan's Park art benches are the first ones. We installed those in December. Beautiful weather for December, thankfully. So those are over at Dan's Park if you guys would like to take a peek. Samantha did a beautiful job on those benches, so I highly recommend going and checking those out. There was a bit of adjustments with schedules and illnesses and things like that when we were getting them installed. And then the second item on there, I believe, is the Old North sculpture piece that is completed. I'm just waiting a date with the Parks Department to get a lift operator out there to install that. But the cement pad was installed early December, I believe, or late November. That went in beautiful, cold but beautiful. And then for our Adam Street Alley art piece, I have weekly meetings with Brandon, the artist, to check on the updates on those projects. Last Friday when I met, he was finishing up the actual legs for the jellyfish and programmed the lighting and everything like that. So they just have to run through that programming. I'll find out more from him this Friday as well, but you can see from the photos, it is definitely coming along. He still has to finish it. He's going to be putting a transitional automotive enamel. So if you've ever seen vehicles that kind of do that color shift as you move by, that is what's actually going to be on that head of that jellyfish, is that color shift enamel paint. I don't have an exact date yet as far as when that will be installed, but we are looking at doing some live streaming unveiling sort of event. It'll probably be a 2-part install, I'm thinking, just the initial placement of the actual piece, and then he'll need to come back and set up the lighting and the outlet box for that lighting. So I'm thinking it's going to be a 2-part install, but the big main one, I guess, will be definitely live streaming, maybe the lighting one too.
This would be, I mean, the just were great and interesting, but I think as you see these pieces come together, like, this is going to have tremendous impact. This is really going to be a truly overused word, but it will be a transformational project for this little this neighborhood. It would be wonderful to, if the city does a press release on this, bring out a poet or someone to do a small, or even I know Pegasus, who's local. They did something really wonderful for a mural that Youth Arts Initiative did. I think it would bring tremendous media attention if they could get footage of just, I mean, even if it's like a 10-minute performance in front of the sculpture. I think we could, and since we're all in this digital world, and people aren't going to necessarily be walking by it in the numbers they might normally, it would be great to try to make just a tiny little.
And Wonder if we could find some funding for that. Pegasus to come out and we pay them, and that it would make sense to pay whoever comes out maybe a little bit.
Yeah, even, a stipend of $100, $200, something like that would go a long way. Laura, I'm sorry if you said this, but what is the anticipated kind of unveiling date of this?
For the jellyfish,
Yeah.
we, Brandon, that was about 2 weeks ago, he gave me the date of the 18th. It's obviously not the 18th, but I'm thinking I'll get a better feel once I actually see him this week again. But I believe last time he said it was probably about 2 weeks out. So I'm guessing it'll probably be around the 18th of February. That's going to be weather dependent. And I have to touch base with Noel, the property owner, to make sure that we can get that parking lot cleared the day of, just so they have room to work.
I would offer this, if the city is interested in doing a press release on this install. Pegasus is actually our artist in residence at the Widener for March, and they contractually have to do a community engagement activity. So I would be willing to use the Widener's agreement and compensation with Pegasus, which is it's a healthy compensation, to make this their community engagement activity. And so if we wanted to set a date where we knew all the lights were going to light up and get some cameras out there, we would collaborate on that.
Okay. And you said their residency is in March?
It's the month of March, yeah.
Okay. No, I think definitely it'll be ready by March. That would be fantastic. I apologize, I'm not familiar with Pegasus. Could you explain a little bit what that
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have assumed everyone knows. They're local, 3 sisters and one additional band member. They were for Best Ska Reggae World Music Group last year. They do a lot of both a cappella and accompanied, but original music, really beautiful harmonies. They're young, they're dynamic, they're local, they're everything you want. In their 20s, overall, East High graduate, UW Green Bay graduate, people we want to lift up.
Yeah.
That sounds just fantastic. I just love it. Thank you.
Absolutely. I think it makes a lot of sense to have these stars align up and make, not that the jellyfish unveiling on its own wouldn't be great, but why not make it even better?
Laura, what's the Old North Sculpture Park? I'm trying to remember that project.
Old North is located, it's kind of kitty corner to the Metro station, and then higher station number 2, I believe.
Yeah.
As Charlotte said before, there's the indicator piece that's out there. And there's another community piece. It's kind of a wood fan that's in need of some loving, I think, as far as repairs and painting. But we have 2 pieces out there already, and we're aiming to put in. It's a highly trafficked site. A lot of people move through there just to get to the bus station. So we're working, at least initially, the plan is working to potentially make that a larger sculpture park, or have sculptures within that area, I guess.
Was this the flower? Is it a dandelion flower, like a huge dandelion? So is that a neighborhood association initiative? I don't remember that coming through us.
It was through neighborhoods team in the department.
Awesome.
So we started that. I mean, the RDA acquired some property back, I don't know, Krista, 20 years ago, maybe, or so. And so that indicator is probably at least 20 years old, I think, that was out there. And then we used block grant dollars, I think, to put the path in to get to transit, to make that a more welcoming. And back when the neighborhood association was active, they did all the plantings out there. And we actually had a gentleman who lived in the neighborhood who did that lattice in the center. He also had some other pieces, unfortunately, we had to remove that they just wore down. So it was a very grassroots kind of project that we're continuing on with in that site. So,
Yeah. This is a new project that went through the neighborhood association then?
it did not, there's not an active neighborhood association there. I think we looked at that through our neighborhood team, our department team.
Yeah, that's going to be really fun to see that out there.
Yeah.
Can I just jump in and tell you my experience with this sculpture park? At the last election, November, my assignment was to monitor 5 polling stations outside because I didn't feel safe going inside. And so my little dog and I drove around from polling station to polling station all day long and stopped and parked at each one and just walked around and observed to see if there were any problems or anything like that. I had a number to call if I to the transit station. I was wandering around and I found this sculpture park. I didn't know it existed. It was just a wonderful find. So I'm so happy that we're going to put something in there. That's just awesome.
Cool.
Excellent. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you for the updates. Anything else, Laura?
Nope, that is all that I have. Just that our last thing is our next meeting is scheduled for February 24th. Oh, Cheryl.
Celestine, this will, I think, be Celestine's last meeting of the PAC.
Yes.
Celestine, we celebrate you and we surround you with the force of good and important work as you go on to become our city's clerk.
Yeah.
That is amazing work.
That is very nice. Thank you, especially since I was not really in sync with what you all were talking about earlier. I appreciate those kind words.
You get out there and you protect democracy, Celestine. We feel blessed to have known you back when we were lowly chief of staff. Now you're a superhero of the.
Oh my goodness. Holy cat. Thank you. That's very kind, Kelly. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Celestine. You've been here since the very first meeting that we had, I think. So thank you very much for all the work you've done.
Oh, thank you, everybody. It's been fun. It has been. So, yeah, my last meeting.
Don't be a stranger.
You know I won't be. Thanks, everyone.
All right.
And the other thing I just wanted to say was that we actually, we have a new director starting for our department. February 1st, Neil Steck-Schulte is coming to us from Sun Prairie. So he starts February 1st, and then I will be attempting to fill those Celestine Jeffrey shoes from this point on. So I'll be attending these meetings, which is great, because then I won't have to do that other job, because the other guy will. I come back to this one. So looking forward to getting some insurance and hold harmless stuff done.
Yeah.
Woo, go kick that cat. We're glad to have you, Cheryl.
Yep.
All right, everyone. Our next meeting is scheduled for February 24th. Can I get a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Do we have to vote on this too?
Yep.
Oh, we vote on everything is what I'm. All right. Okay. All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Very good. See you all on the flip side.